Whoops. All right, and we are live. All right. I
We are
think
for real.
that was a bumpy start. All right, we are rolling. We be rolling. We be riding. Shout out to Brandon Sanders and the Mobile, Alabama local hip hop scene. Hey everybody, welcome to Real Life Talk. I'm Denisse Lamastra. I'm here with my lovely wife Denisse. Again. Again.
We're gonna get bored of me.
My guest that I had scheduled for today had a touch of the laryngitis.
Oh no!
So
we'll hope
my lovely wife
she
is
gets
filling in
better
again. So
soon.
all
It's
right.
never fun to be sick.
Yeah,
not on
it's
the
not fun to be
holidays.
sick.
Mm-mm.
It's no
No
good.
joke.
No bueno. No bueno. Well, thanks for joining us today. Anybody who's watching live or listening later, appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Not sure what we're talking about exactly yet. This is just kind of
an interesting
last minute
conversation.
But we did get some cool news yesterday, right?
Yeah. Very cool ones.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna be like you yesterday.
I'm like, well, why don't you? Okay. Do you want to share the news?
You can go ahead. I mean, we'll share them together. We're having a baby.
We are having a baby. We've already shared that news.
We are having a baby.
We found out we're having a baby girl.
Yes.
So we're super excited. We have 2 boys now, so we were super nervous about having another boy. But
which, let's just clarify, we said we were going to be happy either way. Because
I don't know. I said that, but I was ready to give it back.
You can't send it back once you get it. You can't send it back.
No, obviously not really. But yeah, so we're super excited. We're having a baby girl.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's going to be like uncharted territory, though.
It's crazy. If we were having a boy, we already have a lot of stuff. Like we already have a lot of clothes that we've saved and things like that. But with a baby girl, we're starting over. We're starting from scratch. So I'm just going to tell you.
I'm excited though.
This baby girl is my Christmas present to you. This year, maybe next year. Maybe she'll be my present to you next year too. Because I just found out where all of my money is going to be going for the next 18 years of my life. So
this is God's gift to us for Christmas.
But I helped. Let's be honest. I was involved in the process.
I'm pretty sure it was too.
For sure.
So it wouldn't have worked without either one of us.
You were involved. Well, you were definitely you're definitely way more involved than I am.
Cooking a baby doesn't sound right. Cooking a baby doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
I just had a flashlight to all those baby jokes we used to say.
You're doing all the work. You're doing all the work. So are you saying it's your present to me? It's not an it anymore.
She
still looks like a T-Rex.
No, she doesn't.
A little bit. She's got like that big head. The little legs.
She checked everything.
No, everything's good.
The lady said that she's got everything. Both legs, both feet, nose, mouth, hands. She was, she seems like she loves to put her feet on her face.
Yeah.
And move her hands like in front of her face. So yeah. There's a debate though, whether she's gonna look more like me or more like you.
That's
because
ridiculous.
The boys look I think Elijah definitely looks a lot more like my family side. Josiah looks kind of like a good mixture of both of us, I think. We shall see in the years.
I'm really bad at that. I'm really bad at knowing, like being able to tell which parent the child looks like. Sometimes it's really obvious.
Yeah, sometimes
but for the most part, I'm pretty bad at that. And it's funny because like I'll see 2 people like literally look at the same person and be like, oh, she looks exactly like her mom. And then someone else 20 minutes later will be like, she looks exactly like her dad. She doesn't look like you at all. And so I don't think people actually know what they're talking about. I think that's just what some of the people say.
Yeah, no, but
Elijah does have a little bit more.
And even his baby pictures, some of his baby pictures, he looks a lot like my brother. Like what my brother looked like when he was little.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say he looks a lot more like my. But I mean, you're not particularly blonde. I mean, you have blue eyes, but you're not blonde. So
I'm not blonde.
In terms of like, this is gonna sound terrible saying like your whiteness,
I am white.
because you're green.
I'm a very extremely white human.
So I'm just
My
saying,
ancestors are from Poland
like
and places like that.
brown and dark genes usually like prevail. But again, I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah.
My mom says that she thinks she's gonna have light eyes and lighter hair than mine, even though I must say I love my dark hair. So I'm
Well,
a little
let's
biased
just
about that.
pray for the sake of the world that she looks more like you
What you
than
trying
me.
to say? What
I'm
does that
just,
even
I
mean?
was trying to compliment you.
That is not kind of like a compliment.
It got lost in translation.
Very lost.
So
Anyway,
let's talk about. You want to talk about Christmas a little bit?
sure we can.
How about we do that?
Yeah, this is the season
I know.
of
I know. When we
Christmas.
get into this time of year, we probably maybe have a little bit more of a emphasis, or maybe we're thinking a little bit more. When we get into, because we have Thanksgiving at the end of November, and then it seems like Christmas is not like a 1 day holiday like most holidays are.
Right. It's
We
like a whole
kind of feel like we
season.
have a Christmas season. I don't know. For some reason, this year, I feel like for the past several years of my life, just with all the busyness and everything going on, I've felt like Christmas sneaks up on me. But for some reason, that didn't happen to me this year.
Yeah.
This is like the first year in a while where I actually feel like kind of relaxed going into the few days before Christmas, where I don't know. I just feel like it didn't sneak up on me as much this year as it normally does, and I'm pretty excited about that. I'm kind of grateful because I feel like I'm going to get to enjoy it. Not that I haven't enjoyed it in the past,
Yeah.
but that I'm going to get to enjoy it a little bit more. As far as I don't know, I'm kind of like in the Christmas spirit a little bit more than I normally am, and I know that you and I we like to focus on the traditions with our family and things like
Yeah.
that during the season, and I think that that's really important thing. So yeah, what do you
Yeah,
think?
I have very fond memories of a Christmas season, like growing up. Um, I'm grateful my parents made time to, like you say, like make memories. I think that's the biggest thing. Um, Nowadays, we live in such a fast-paced lives, and I think, I mean, it may vary, whether you live in like a suburban area or if you live in a smaller town, maybe feels different. But I think overall, our lives are more like fast-paced than, maybe, I don't know, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So I think with a lot of that, technology and comfort and all these things, sometimes certain things that are very, very valuable definitely get lost in translation. They get lost in the hackle and bustle. I don't know if those are even the right
Hustle
word.
and bustle.
There you go.
There
Thank
you
you. Of it all. So I mean, definitely, it's definitely a busy week. At least this week, the kids are coming out of school. They're getting on their break. And I know for a lot of parents that could be stressful by itself, because
go.
if they have, they're still working during the holidays, so having to figure it out, schedules, and who's going to watch the kids and how you're going to do that, I can see how that could be very stressful.
Sure.
um, and also trying to make sure that your kids are occupied throughout the day, and they're not just sitting like couch potatoes watching TV all day, even though a lot of kids do that, but it just happens.
Yeah, it's definitely
Um,
stress. I mean, it could
so
definitely be a stressful time. Definitely could be a stressful season. We were just talking yesterday and trying to remember that in the midst of the whatever if there's stressfulness, if there's stressfulness is, I feel like stressfulness and stress mean the same thing. So stressfulness might not even be a word. So scratch that. But the stress of the season, and sometimes that can be caused by stuff like getting together with family that maybe you
yeah,
you don't necessarily want to see, or maybe that can be like having to buy gifts, and maybe it can be having to just navigate through like the busyness of the stores and the traffic, or maybe it's dealing with the fact that there isn't enough finances to go around for the season, and like the extra things that you feel like that are kind of weighing you down, things that you feel like you have to do or
Yeah.
whatever. Or, some people have a difficult time getting through the holidays just because of, maybe their life was affected by a tragedy that
Right.
happened during
Yeah.
this time of the year or
Mhm.
something like that. And so, like, whatever the case may be, I think it's important to just remember the fact that this is an opportunity for us to focus on the Lord, to focus on Jesus and what he did for us. I know that Jesus wasn't actually born on December
Right.
25th,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like that doesn't matter. Like, this is the time of the
Right.
year, to me anyway, it doesn't matter. This is the time of year that we've designated for whatever reason or another.
Right.
And you can look at the whatever the origin, and you can find some pagan stuff in there, and you can find like stuff negative about the Christmas tree and about the wreaths and all these different things, and like whatever. I think that we can, however you want to celebrate, I think that we can redeem those things. I think
Yeah.
that we can, whatever. Like, so if you like to decorate a tree or not, like, no pressure. but,
Yeah.
but the point is that however you like to do it, remembering that this season is all about Jesus, all about the King. And, like, we can get caught up in the minutia of the details, and the nuances of everything. But
That's a
if,
new word.
if
I've never heard that word.
which one?
Minutia.
Minutia.
Hmm.
I think I
Interesting.
used it
I'm
correctly.
always learning English.
I'm like
Every
80%
day.
sure I used that word
That's
correctly just
great. I
now.
just have never heard of it before.
I believe it has to do with like the small
The
like
smallest thing.
details that
Minute.
make up something, right?
Gotcha.
I believe so. If I use that
Thank you.
wrong, somebody
No, thank
correct me.
you
But
for always teaching me new English words.
vocabulary lesson of the day. But yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's all about him, and I think that we have an opportunity in this season to make it all about him.
Yeah. I think the I definitely don't like the commercialization.
Commercialization, yeah.
Yeah, like I think that's the word
Mhm.
of the season in terms of uh, putting attention or the focus on the presence and spending money
Mhm.
and the status quo, or you know what I mean. I
Yeah.
think that all that could so easily burden someone and burden a family to feel less than others,
For sure.
especially with I guess we could say this is the first year after the corona shutdown. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Where I feel like some people are still recovering from that. We're not full backswing of things, and it's it can be very stressful. Like I know for kids, it can be very very stressful when, um, and I'm grateful. Like definitely a shout out to all those different nonprofits and like companies and businesses that make time to be generous and give out and collect toys or food and make like holiday plates and give out to
Mhm.
people and families. I think that that's such a beautiful example of
Yeah.
generosity and
Mhm.
giving. I love Thanksgiving. That I feel like with Thanksgiving, the focus is on being thankful.
Yeah.
And I mean, I must say, I'm a Mexican. That is not a holiday that I grew up celebrating because it's not really part of our culture. But when I was exposed to it and when I would hear about it, I definitely always felt like that is definitely something that I would like to celebrate in my family. Like just the ability to take a time and set a day to say, we are grateful. This is what
Mhm.
we're grateful for.
Yeah.
And I think that is a beautiful beginning to the holiday season, going from being grateful to learning to be generous. Because when I think about Christmas, I think about the fact that Jesus came,
Yeah.
as a
Mhm.
gift. Like he's his birth is just like the beginning of the beautiful gift of salvation
Yeah.
that we have,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the generosity of that.
Yeah, that's actually why Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, and I think that that's the reason why, because there really is the same sort of focus of family and being thankful that comes with Christmas, but it's not interrupted by the feeling like you've got to buy all these gifts for people and
Hmm.
stuff like that, which is great. Like, I love
Yeah,
buying gifts,
yeah.
I love giving gifts and stuff like that. But I love the fact that it's a holiday that, you still get to eat all the good food and hang out with family and watch football and all that kind of stuff. But, or, that's anyway, not
Yeah.
everyone celebrates it the same way. But it's without all that other stuff, because so often the gift buying and stuff like that, it really does add pressure.
Hmm.
And I would just say that as far as Christmas goes, that's that's great. I love giving gifts, I love getting gifts, I love all that. But that's sort of those things like that enhance the season, but they shouldn't be
The
the
focus
focus of the
this
season,
season.
right?
Yeah, even with our kids, like I try to take moments to talk to them about, like the importance of what precious gift we have been given.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, just baby Jesus coming to the manger, and when I even think about the manger, just such a beautiful message to remembering that the there's a phrase that I always think about, the last um, I don't know, like thoughtful, or it wasn't that place of comfort and status quo that became the most glorious that
Mm-hmm.
night. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like just like even thinking like he was born in a manger surrounded by barn animals,
Mm-hmm.
in such a humble place, and yet we know he is the King of Kings. He came in flesh. And my favorite, if I could say during this season, like one of my favorite names, or that I think about
Yeah.
is the name
Yeah, me
Emmanuel,
too.
and the meaning of it. That it means like God with us, like He's with us, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a great reminder. Um, that He is always with us, and that God the Father loved us so much to give us His Son, to give
Yeah.
Him to us, to allow us to. I mean, I obviously we didn't lived in those times, right? But I always think like, what precious like moment, like being able to be there when he was born. And I can only think of like the atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
you know um, just like the angels, just the stars, like just I can picture it. And I love seeing movies that portray that, and I think that is great that if you're able to share that with your children and take time to do that,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of highlight that his story and highlight that in their lives, the importance of remembering, that he is the reason why we're
Yeah.
celebrating. Like it's Christ. I know that, like I was saying, that whole commercialization and everything, they just try to shorten it and they put the X,
Yeah.
and I know some people have a fit about that because it's like taking Christ out of Christmas,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think that I mean, it's called Christmas for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know who came up with the name of it or whatever, but that's the point. Um, and I love to be able to see that it's a season where all around the world, not just in one place, but all around the world, it's highlighted the fact that we're celebrating that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is such a cool time to sort of develop those traditions with your family.
Hmm.
And to, yeah, even like, I mean, for me and you, with young kids, to have that opportunity to just say, okay, like let's read this story together, even though we've read it before,
Right.
to
Yeah.
take time and, as you said, discuss the sort of
Yeah.
the historical perspective behind all of it and stuff like that. I just think that's really cool. And so,
Yeah.
like, whatever methods or whatever ways you find to sort of build those traditions with your family, most of you probably already have those, but if not, it's an awesome time to start, developing some traditions, whether it's around whatever it might be.
Hmm.
But yeah, like developing those family traditions together, because I just think it's so helpful. Like, I know I used to, when I was growing up, like I used to love. I got so into the Christmas season. Like, as a kid, I used to we would decorate the house. My dad would put up lights, and we had these big things that we put up outside, like a manger scene and all that kind of stuff. And it was like my favorite thing, me and my sister, to like, we'd be begging our parents, can we put up the tree? Can we put up the tree? And finally, when we got to put the tree up, like it was just, it was always a big event. But I would decorate my room. Like I had a small tree, and I would
That's
make like
nice.
little scenes. And like I was so into Christmas as a kid, it was crazy. So I felt like as I became an adult, I would always sort of look for those opportunities to kind of like milk the most out of the season, and just try to build those memories and establish those traditions with you and with our kids and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I
Yeah,
was
I
like
mean,
crazy into
I
Christmas when I
I
was a kid.
loved I think mostly like on my home we decorated just like inside it. We lived in a big city, and it I think is more common in like what do you call it, like suburban areas, or like areas where there's suburbs or big housing
Mm-hmm.
areas, like we call them fraccionamientos.
Mm-hmm.
But they're
Yeah, housing
very
developments.
different at home in Mexico. So most of the decorations are inside, like inside our home. But one thing I love is that my dad will. There's different years when we did this. We would have a little train that will go around the tree. That was one of my favorite things.
Mm-hmm.
The locomotor just like
Yeah.
going around the tree with the lights and stuff.
Yeah.
We would have like we will set up a nativity scene, and that was big in my house. Either we'll like alternate, some years we'll put the train, and some years we'll put the nativity scene under the tree. But if it wasn't under the tree, we will find a place to put it. And like I do love, I think in Mexico you can find those nativity scenes, like even like they go all the way out, like
Mm-hmm.
the little houses, they make the little towns. I remember going to the market and buying the hay that we would use to put, we'll put like a little lake with like we'll have like ducks and stuff, just
Uh-huh.
just to celebrate and remember, you know what I mean. And I was gonna say like I we read the story with our kids every year, and I know because so easily becomes just like, oh, another year of reading this. But I find that every year there's something else new that you can
For
highlight, something
sure.
else new
Yeah.
that you can talk about, or bring about, or they have questions,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an opportunity to answer those questions and to have a conversation, because it's so important for you to be able to speak into your children's lives. Um, there's so many, and I think in this is in general in terms of like why you celebrate certain holidays, because a lot of times we could so easily just celebrate things just because they're on the calendar, or just because like, oh, that's what this year means, this we have to do this. But we do need to be able to answer the question of like why.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we do it, or why don't we, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And teach our children that it's not one thing better than the other, like in case like maybe your family doesn't do it the same way that your neighbor, or the same way that the teacher, or something else, that you can teach about um, being able to hear other people, and respect in that sense. Like, I respect that you celebrate that, and it's good. It doesn't make you better or less than me. And this is what our family traditions are. Some families do like cookie baking,
Mm-hmm.
like my house, that wasn't a thing. We didn't do cookie baking. It's just, we didn't do the uh, the little trees. That was like American to my,
Uh-huh.
but it was just
Right.
not something we
Right.
did because it was
Right.
a tradition that was an American. But we did traditions in sense of like every year we would have the traditional Christmas food. Like
Right.
uh, I just forgot the name of it, but like romeritos, which is something that's very traditional in Mexico with like mole, and it's just a vegetable, or we'll have cava, what is it? I forget the name. It's like a fish dish that they
Bacalao.
bacalao. Yeah, my
Mm-hmm.
that's my dad's favorite dish. I never liked it, but
We did that
my
one year when I
but
was in
my dad
Mexico
my dad loves that. You know
with
what I
you.
mean? Like so it's good to celebrate traditions different, even to talk about your kids about how other parts of the world celebrate Christmas. Like that's good to be able to open
Yeah.
their eyes to see that there are other things, that is a whole world outside
Like in
of where they
Japan,
live,
everybody
you
eats
know?
Kentucky Fried Chicken on
Yeah,
Christmas.
like
It's crazy. Like the lines are like, you gotta get in line and get your Kentucky Fried Chicken like super early because like everybody,
yeah,
like
and I
everybody
mean,
wants to eat
uh,
KFC on on what do you call it, on Christmas.
Christmas Day. Yeah, and I'm to say this, and I mean, I think that is something so beautiful about the fact that Jesus came. He came not just for those that were in the area. He came for everybody. You know, every nation, every tongue, everything. And I think sometimes we don't do enough to expand the cultural horizons of our
Mm-hmm.
children, you know. And especially if you are a family of believers and you believe, you know, that um that maybe your children are called to the nations, you know, or you have a calling to the nations for yourself, that you will take even this season and this time to find out. I appreciated it. I remember when I was in Bible school, our friend Andrew Smither,
Mm-hmm.
he would ask questions, you know, like, how do you guys celebrate Christmas in Mexico? Like, what is
Mm-hmm.
it different, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we have what we call posadas, which is like, I think it's like 21 parties before Christmas. So it's a whole season,
It's
you
party
know,
time.
and you go out to different houses, friends, family, and you celebrate. And we have like ponche, and we, you know, we sing Christmas carols, we share, we get goodie bags, you eat a lot of food. It's just like really like family oriented. Nobody, and sometimes those posadas turn into like block parties, literally.
Yeah.
Like everybody in the neighborhood is invited to come hang out, and sing and celebrate, and just the idea of like having that fellowship and that communion, which I think still represents like the heart of, which is so important, of why Jesus
Mm-hmm.
came to us. You know, he came to place the orphans and families, and it's a season where we can express that,
Yeah.
you know.
Are there any classic Mexican Christmas carols that are different
Yes.
than American, or like are most of them the same songs in
No,
Spanish,
no,
or are most of them?
no. I mean, we have Feliz Navidad, which is very classic. I mean, you guys sing it here. We
Mm-hmm.
have Jingle Bells, but I don't think it's even the same. It's called Campana sobre Campana, and it's a different one. Um, there's one that I loved when I was little. It's called Look How the Fish Swim.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
makes
No,
no sense.
I've heard it.
It
I've
makes
heard it.
no sense in English, but I just love, like, it's basically just talking about this the fish in the pond, and they're looking at how, you know, the Virgin Mary is. It's like, I guess she's washing her hair and stuff, like in the river or something like that. Like, we have a lot of very traditional like songs, and they're good songs. I mean, when you're little, you grew up listening to them. We'll have what do we call a pastorela? I guess what you guys do. I mean, it's the nativity
Yeah.
story, you
Mm-hmm.
know, basically. But and all the children participate in the pastorela. So, you know, maybe one year you were the king, you know, one of the three. And then it's another thing, like in Mexico. I know here in the States we don't, you guys don't celebrate it, but we have, besides Christmas, I mean, Christmas season extends and actually ends in Mexico all the way till
Right.
February, because we celebrate El Dia de los Reyes, which is when just it's like a memoir or a reminder of when the three kings came to Jesus and presented gifts to him as what was it, myrna?
Myrrh, frankincense, and gold,
Yes, I
or
can never
gold,
say them in
frankincense, and
English.
myrrh
Yeah, I
is
mean
the
in
order.
Spanish.
I have to point something out
Oh, sure, sure, sure.
because there were not actually three wise men.
Yeah, three kings. That's what
The
we
three,
call them, three
the
kings.
three,
But
yeah, the
they're
three kings.
what they're,
But
but they were wise men. Yes,
well, yeah, but there weren't actually three of them.
it wasn't. It was more than that. Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
you know,
That's fine. I'm just saying that's
yeah,
what they
I'm
call them,
just,
los tres reyes
I always
magos.
just point that. I know that's what they. I know you're just
Yeah.
saying that's what
Well,
they call
they
it.
say,
I
right.
just always have to point this out every year because I'm a nerd. But maybe this is new for somebody. I don't know. But the Bible doesn't actually ever say that there were three wise men.
It just says
It says that
wise
there were
men.
three gifts,
Oh,
and
the
it says
gifts were
that
three.
wise men from the east came,
Mm-hmm.
and they presented their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. We've actually, like, throughout the course of church history, I don't even remember where this came from, but we've named the wise men. It's like Melchior, Belshazzar, and I forget the third one.
Melchor, Gaspar, y Baltasar.
Gaspar, yeah, Gaspar, yeah. So those are
I was
like the
gonna say,
three. I don't know exactly where those names came from,
I was gonna say, yeah. Where
but
I don't know where they
that's
came
the
from.
traditional thing. But like the
Yeah,
Bible doesn't actually say that there were only three wise men. There could have been. I mean, we're
a
talking
lot of
about,
them. Yeah.
and there's a little bit of speculation as to exactly who the wise men were.
Mm-hmm.
We call them wise men. We call them kings. We say that they were royalty. I think that probably a more accurate depiction would be that, like, if you look at like the nation of Persia,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see it in the book of Daniel, and that there were basically these king makers,
Okay.
these wise men, these people that were they would speak into the king's ear, they would speak into his life, and they were the ones that were
Mm-hmm.
supposed to
Like
share these,
councilmen.
yeah, things of that nature, and that they were essentially, kingmakers that would um, make the kings of the day, the royalty of the day. So they had that royal place of position and authority. I'm not 100% sure exactly
Mm-hmm.
who these wise men were, but we're talking about people that journeyed from a really long
Yeah.
distance over a long period of time, and they were coming because they had heard that this king was being born, and they wanted to present gifts to him. They wanted to honor him, and they came and they worshipped him with their treasures. And so, I mean, we could think the way that this stuff normally happens, there could have been an entourage of 50 of
Right.
there hundreds. There
Yeah.
could have been, you know and so that's another thing
Yeah.
that we look at with Jesus receiving these gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Gold, actually, potentially, of those three gifts, being the least valuable of the three.
Wow.
We think that gold may be as the most valuable commodity there,
But
but
it wasn't,
but it's
not at that
possible,
time.
that compared to his other things, that gold actually wasn't even the most valuable thing that was there. But
Mm-hmm.
even just taking, the gold, the worth of gold in the day, depending on how much they brought. I mean, we typically like to look at Jesus and think that he was poor,
Right.
but I mean, when you just think about the story, and you think that they brought these treasures, and then after that they had to go and they had to flee to Egypt because the king wanted to kill them,
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to kill Jesus, because he had heard that a new king was born who was going to be king of the Jews, and so he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to protect himself and his kingdom, and
Right.
not recognize that that's not what it was about in the first place, and so they wanted to kill Jesus. So Joseph has this dream, and they go and they flee, and like, they were sustained throughout that whole
Yeah.
period. They were sustained. They were provided for,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, who knows? We could have been talking about, in today's value, like millions of dollars worth
Mm-hmm.
of gifts that Jesus received as a baby, that his family had throughout the time he was growing up. Anyway, I know that and the Bible doesn't spell all that stuff out, so we don't know for sure.
Right.
But I think that we have a certain concept. I mean, of course, Jesus came, and as you said, he was born in obscurity. He was born in this place where he was in a manger, like a feeding
Mm-hmm.
trough, in
Yeah.
a in a stable, in a
Right.
barn area, and God, the angel appears to these shepherds, and these shepherds come, and if you're trying to announce the birth of a king, typically you wouldn't do that among shepherds,
Right. Yep.
but God just does things so differently.
Mm-hmm.
But typically I think we have this idea that Jesus was like this poor man throughout his life, and it's just
Yeah. No.
it's just not true.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
It's just as we were talking, just thinking about like it's just how grateful um our hearts should feel, about just what he did, like, by coming to earth and fulfilling that prophecy, because like you say, there was a group of people expecting this king, expecting this Messiah, their hopes were hanging in it and stuff. And at the same time, I was just thinking about, I know that this could be a very, very difficult time for
yeah.
people that have
Hmm.
lost loved ones, And in that too, it gives us an opportunity to be loving, to care for the widow,
Mhm.
to care for the one that is not part of the family, and welcome them
Mhm.
into our home and make them a part of what you have, the gift that you have as a family. um, if you have lost a loved one during Christmas time, I can understand that it could be hard to
Yeah.
to be joyful, to celebrate, you know and it doesn't make the loss last, but it doesn't take away of the season either. There's this beautiful balance where you can find comfort,
Mhm.
when you can be comfort and loved in the season. When we lose someone, it's always hard, no matter what season it is that you lose it.
Sure.
It's no matter, it doesn't matter in the year where when it happens. It is a tragic circumstance. Your heart gets broken apart. I mean, I know there are people that takes them sometimes a couple years before they can
Oh yeah.
hear certain music,
Mhm.
or do certain things because they have lost a loved one. So I think
Yeah.
if if you're not one that has lost something, I would encourage you to be conscious of that.
Mhm.
When someone shares, don't immediately go ahead, and call him a Grinch. I know that the story is like very prominent out there, like he hated Christmas, or and even this, that story can show us that sometimes when people have been hurt,
Mhm.
it's so easy for them to to go away, like to separate themselves to themselves.
Yeah.
And God has not called us to be alone. He's called us to be a part of a body, and he came so that those that were left out or alone or destituted
Mhm.
could be a part
Yeah.
of something now, so that we could be as believers, that we become sensitive during this season um, to recognize, when we are surrounded by people that are struggling or they're having a hard time with it, that we will be kind
Yeah.
and graceful to them, and generous. I was reading a post yesterday about how there are people that might ask during the season, like, hey, what do you want for Christmas, and not to disregard when people's answers would be like, well, I would just like to be able to pay my electric bill. I would just like to be able to
Yeah.
to take care of this or take care of that. Like, there are people that, you know they're really they're maybe they're the where they are at right now, they're trying to survive, or they're trying to keep moving forward,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
then we will be thoughtful of those things, that
Mhm.
we wouldn't assume that people just want, something flashy. And I love what the post said. It was, just kind of saying, like, if someone tells you that and you disregard their request and you decide to just go and buy them something like chocolates, then were you actually gifting them with something for them,
Right.
or were you just trying to do something for yourself? And
Yeah.
I think that's so important to focus on, like, during this season of the year, that when we are thinking of others, that we really think of
Mhm.
others,
Yeah.
not think of, oh, how would this make me look, like, because selfishness can so easily sneaking unaware.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, just
Yeah. No, like we have this pastor and his family that we support as a church,
yeah.
and we, as a church, we send funds periodically to
Hmm.
help them and help their
Committed,
ministry.
yeah.
And they're in Nigeria,
Hmm.
and we had purposed as a church to send an extra offering
For
in this
Christmas.
season that
Yeah.
was going to just be for them as a family for Christmas, and
Hmm.
and they're they're such amazing people that what they
Their response.
almost always do is they, even if we send them money, we say this is for you, they will almost always, unless we're extremely adamant about it, they'll take it and they'll use
They
it
use it for
to buy food for
the people.
people and to
Yes.
help the other churches in the area and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
really incredible to see. This year we were really adamant about, we're sending you an offering that's for
For your
you and
family.
for your family to have a
Yes.
nice Christmas together because you deserve it. But the food shortage situation, it's not even a
Yeah, it's
shortage, that
unfortunate.
because of due to inflation, which is like, what was it at the end of October? It was like 6.5%. It's absurd, but the
Wow.
inflation is so out of control right now that they can't buy food in the
People
area where they
can't
live.
afford
They
to
can't get
buy
it,
food. Yeah.
and so they said, the situation is so bad, we're going to take the money. We're just telling you, we're going to take the money and we're going to use it to buy food for people, to buy basically rice and beans in massive quantities and feed as many people as they can.
Yeah.
And because of the situation that they're in, we had to honor that.
Yeah.
We couldn't say no, this is going to be for you.
Yeah.
Like no, their heart is going out for these people, and there's no way, they said, that they would feel right really
Yeah.
just spending money on themselves for the holidays while all these people around them,
Are
friends of
not being
theirs,
able
and church family and other people that
eat.
just don't have. And so it's really an incredible thing to see. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of why I was saying earlier, Denise, that the gift giving and stuff like that, it should enhance the season. And
Yeah.
if you're fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to receive gifts this year, to give gifts this year, and all of that, then that's awesome, and enjoy it and make the most out of it. And but if you're not, if you're not, please don't feel ashamed
Yeah.
because of that. I know it's sad, and I know that, like, I've definitely been there. I don't know if we've been there as a family. I don't know if you felt the same way that I did or not, because I don't even know if we ever talked about it. But I know that there were times where, as a man, as a husband, as a father, where I was like, man, like, I can't even afford to really, like, hardly get anything for my kids this year, and just sort of feeling the shame of that. And there's no reason to feel shame for that if you remember, again, what this season is really all about. Because it's not about us, it's not about giving gifts and all of that stuff. It's all about him. And because it's all about him, he wants us to enjoy that time as a family. Something that I think we don't really think about a whole lot during holiday seasons and different times when we're celebrating, is actually celebrating with the Lord. There is actually, if you go back into the Old Testament in Israel's history, there were different tithes. They called them tithes, but there were different tithes. There wasn't just one tithe for them as we have it today. It was just 10% of all of your increase. There were different tithes, and one of the tithes that they would take at a certain point throughout the year was a tithe. And for them, tithing was like animals and stuff like that, not
Right.
necessarily like
Money.
money.
Yeah.
But it was because that was the way that their
currency.
increase
Yeah,
came
yeah.
in. But it was there was a time of year where they would take a tithe,
10%.
and the goal was to use that tithe to use it to celebrate with your family, but with the Lord. And so if your tithe was a certain, let's just say it's like 10% of your livestock, of the food that you brought, of whatever, the idea was that you would get together with family, that you get together with friends, and that you would use that tithe
that resource
to have a party, to have a feast, to celebrate together what the Lord has done. But the idea was to celebrate with the Lord. And I think that, because we don't see God with our eyes, we think that, we talk to him when we're praying, we talk to him when we're at church on Sunday, or, whatever. Yeah, exactly. But because he lives inside of us and we carry his presence with us, we can feel and sense and just be aware. It's not even about feelings per se, but being aware of his closeness, of his presence. So, like, as you said, Emmanuel, God with us. He's with us. He's in our midst. And as you're eating that turkey or that ham or those mashed potatoes or whatever it is that you eat, and as you're, if you're sitting around a tree and opening gifts or sipping hot chocolate or Christmas caroling or like driving around looking at Christmas lights, whatever, enjoy that with your family. but I would just encourage you to have a consciousness in your mind and in your heart, and share it with your family, that you know what, we're doing this with the
With
Lord,
him, yeah.
because we're not doing this disconnected from God,
Yes,
because again, he's not
exactly.
only with us when we're with him in church on Sunday morning,
Right.
but all throughout our lives. And you know, in this season, I just think that we can just help ourselves and help each other to really remember the reason why we're here and why we celebrate, and it's all about him, by keeping him in the midst of us. And I think a big part of it is just talking about,
Yeah.
articulating it and talking about
Yeah.
him, you know, with
Yeah.
our loved ones.
Yeah. I love something that we do as a family on Christmas Day is that before we open any gift, that we take time to pray. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we sit down and the kids are obviously excited and waiting to open the gifts, but that we take time and that you say that you know, we say, hey, let's take time to just say a prayer of thankfulness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we thank God for sending His Son. We thank Jesus for being born, because without him we wouldn't have this.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't have this gift of family. We wouldn't have each other. um, and then just with that, like I always love that. I love that that brings joy, and it's creating in our kids mind that awareness that, like you say, that he's there with us, that this is because of him. And you know, I mean, we always talk and we even say this to them, like and I think this is also part in our church culture, you know, when we talk about like it's good for children to receive gifts because
Mm-hmm.
they feel appreciated and loved during this season.
Yeah.
Um, but as adults, that we don't necessarily feel like it has, like we're the ones that have to receive gifts, you know. And it's always beautiful. And like I was saying, like I have a couple friends that have different nonprofits, and I love when people can find that generosity, that extra generosity out of their heart, because sometimes we assume that people are in a position of give, or we assume that everybody giving
Right.
is in a position to give. And we don't understand many times the sacrifice of giving.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that sacrifice to
Yeah.
give to others. You know, you were talking about Pastor Ovi and his family. Like, that is, I believe that that's the essence of generosity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it is not about of whether I have enough to give
Yeah.
and still take care of myself, but it's to put yourself in a position of sacrifice and say, I will give for the sake of others.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
their attitude is literally, you know, I'm not gonna eat meat while everyone else is eating rice and beans. You know, if
mhm,
everyone else, if all we can afford is rice and beans, then it's rice and beans for everybody. Like
yeah,
that's what we're having. It's an amazing
yeah.
heart
Yeah,
and
and I
attitude.
think that that's a character that is important to develop in our own life and in our
Yeah.
families. You know what I mean? Because this is something that you can model throughout the whole year, not just and during Christmas season. You know, but
Yeah.
it's something that you can make a part of your family throughout the year,
Mm-hmm.
because you will have opportunities. God will give you opportunities where He will place an opportunity in a situation where you can be a light to others, where you can help others. You know, I was just thinking about, you know, when we had the fire in our kitchen and we had to move out of the house, and it was, you know, I appreciated that God surrounded us by people that help out, that
Mm-hmm.
were generous in that
Yeah.
season, that helped us in that season. And then you pay it forward. You know, when we had someone close to us that their house burnt out and their children were homeless for a few months, that we were able to open our home and say, come to my home,
Yeah.
be in my home until you can get back on your feet. You know, and I think sometimes our culture has tried, or the culture of the world tries to make us develop this sense of self protection and self
For sure.
preservation, where it is about like, if I am generous in this way, it's an inconvenience for
Hmm.
me.
Yeah.
If I go out of my way to help someone, it's an inconvenience. And there's a danger, of like, this person might take advantage. Now, I am well aware, I'm being balanced about it. I understand there are people that love to take advantage of
Sure.
situations like this. So if you recognize that you're being taken advantage, then definitely get out of that, because that's definitely not what God wants you, but I would say that um, we will be sensitive to the Holy Spirit leading us and guiding us when those opportunities come knocking at the door. And it's okay, even if there's a small inconvenience and a momentarily discomfort
Yeah.
that could bring so much more joy,
Hmm.
um, to you and to the situation, like the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I just thought of something that I think is really powerful. That was in a prophetic word given to you by Sister Sylvia Evans, where she said, people won't be able to take advantage of you because you're going to give them the advantage. And I think that's so powerful. And yeah, so often I think that our focus is on self-preservation and kind of
Mhm.
looking out for ourselves. And more than any other time, I mean, this should be a normal way of life, for all of us, where we look for opportunities to love, honor, and serve those around us. But I would just say that during this season, whether you are giving and receiving gifts and stuff like that, like, remember that it's a we're celebrating Jesus. It's not literally Jesus's birthday, but it's when we celebrate his birth, right?
Right. Yeah.
So if anyone deserves a gift, he does.
Yeah.
And I think that the greatest gift that we could give him would be, maybe reaching out to somebody who's um, got a greater need than we do. And
Hmm.
and and even if you have a need this season, I guarantee you there's someone in your life who has a greater need than you do.
Yeah.
um, or maybe it's calling someone up on the phone and mending a relationship, or whatever. There's all these different, like, practical things that we could do. But when we make a point to love people, to honor people, and to serve people, I think that that's the greatest gift that
Gift
God
that
would
you can
be,
give.
looking for
Yeah.
from us in this season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just thinking about this phrase that we use a lot at church. When there's a need, sow a seed.
Hmm.
You know, um, and that's something that we have an opportunity to do throughout the whole year.
Sure.
But I would say probably during this Christmas season, it could be something. And sometimes that seed can be financial, in terms of your money. But sometimes that seed might be, like you said, like time that you spend with someone.
Yeah.
It could be like helping the neighbor with something, that you notice that is needed. Um, and because I think that one of the biggest enemy to communion or to fellowship as the body of Christ and as everybody
Hmm.
is disunity, you know, and that whole like separation. Like this is, I don't want people to
Right.
be a part of my life
Right.
because, you know, for whatever reason, like,
Hmm.
you can have a predisposition to feel like um, people are not trustworthy.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's gonna lead to a whole other thing that, like, we need to find out why. Why do you feel that way? What happened that makes you feel that way? But we're not dealing with that right now.
Sure.
But I'm saying, um, this is a great season for you to put that down for a minute, and it's not gonna hurt you. It's not gonna hurt you to um to be, and again, I'm saying it with like a balance. Safety first, always and forever. That's important. I don't want you doing anything that will put you in a unsafe position or will put you in danger, because that's not That's not good. That's not what God wants. That's not, we can go against that. You know what I mean? But I mean, you helping your neighbor is not gonna put you in danger per se, you know. If you know that someone at church is spending the holidays by themselves because maybe their family are not able to come
Yeah.
visit, you
Hmm.
know, bring them a plate.
Yeah.
You know, ask if it's okay for you to come over and just spend, you know, maybe an hour, 30 minutes, or just, you know what I mean? Just be thoughtful of that.
Or
Things like that.
sometimes you've got to tell people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's and you got to
Or maybe
if
you're
you
the
know the
one in
person,
this
you feel it out.
situation. Yeah.
But sometimes you got to ask, hey, is it okay for me to stop by with this?
Yeah.
But there's some people that that they're going to tell you no. So there's sometimes you got to take a little bit more of a forceful hand and be like,
Yeah.
I'm coming over.
Yep.
I'm coming to see you. I'm not taking no for an answer.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing, because sometimes people need that. And even though,
And they don't know
in
they
other words,
need
some
it.
people have
Yeah.
this idea like, I don't want to inconvenience you and I don't want to do that, and we can sort of accept that and be like, okay, well, all right, no problem, and then feel
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm off the hook. But if God has like put
No.
something on your heart, I'm just saying there might be somebody, the person that the Lord has placed on your heart maybe to reach out to, might be somebody that actually
Needs that.
they really need it, and that's why the Lord's leading you to do it. And but it might not just be, they might not
They're not gonna
be as
tell you.
receptive, and it might be again because they're ashamed or because they feel bad
Mhm.
or because they don't want to put you at an inconvenience or whatever. And so, sometimes, like, that's a powerful thing to somebody who does feel that way and who feels like they're going to be alone for the holidays or whatever, and you say, hey, you know what, I'm grabbing a pizza and I'm coming over. I'm not saying it has to be on Christmas morning per
Right.
se, but
Right.
just like
But
something,
during
some
this
kind of
season,
contact.
yeah.
And like you said, I think that that's just so key. And I know we've got to get out of here, so we're going to wrap this up. But I just think that that's so key, Denise, is like, it's not always money, it's not always financial. Sometimes the greatest sacrifice and the greatest thing that's needed is time.
Mhm.
And I think that that moves the heart of God when we choose to be together, when it's so much easier to not.
To not be
When we
together.
choose fellowship, when we choose community, when we choose relationship, when it's so easy to not do it, especially now,
Yeah.
how easy it is to get everything, and how easy it is
At your
to
door. Yeah.
yeah, everything, like, right. But it's when you choose to fellowship with someone, to speak into someone's life, to be a blessing to them, to give your time to that person, even if it's not a lot, it doesn't have to be a ton of time. But when you choose to do those things and kind of step outside of your rhythm of life and the normal thing and the comfortable thing, I just think that that's something that God really loves and that moves His heart.
Yeah.
Because again, it's all about people. It's all about He. I think that that's the greatest way. How can you say, James says that you, or is it James or John? Anyway, the Bible says, how can you say that you love God and hate your brother? I'm not that this is hatred,
Right.
but again, I think that the most profound way that we demonstrate, because love has to be demonstrated. We can demonstrate
Yeah.
our love to God by singing songs and stuff like that, but that's not the greatest sacrifice.
Expression.
That's not the
Yeah.
greatest expression, and love has to be demonstrated.
Mhm.
And so I think that the greatest way that we demonstrate our love to the Father is by sort of getting that sense of how He feels about somebody else,
Mhm.
and sowing into that person's life and giving our time and giving our presence, presence, not just time.
Right.
We
Being
can be, I can
present
be
with
with
them.
you
Yeah.
and be like this the whole time on my
Yeah.
phone, or I can be with you but not really be paying attention to you, or my mind is somewhere else, and but being present with people where they are. I think that'd be an awesome gift to
Yeah.
Jesus for His
Yeah.
birthday.
Exactly. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
His
I was.
fake
I
birthday,
was. I was
but not really.
gonna just add like I appreciated throughout the year, especially when I was studying abroad. And I was in school. I appreciated when people offer, for me to be a part of their family or be with them during those
Right.
breaks.
Yeah.
And just being able to have like an
Huge.
extended family, like a place to just come and feel like I'm part of a family. Like I appreciate that. And if you're one of those families that you had students from other countries like come and open your home, from one of them, thank you, because you don't know the impact and the meaning that
Mm-hmm.
that carries to someone's heart, just to feel that they're welcome, that they're a part of, you know. And I sure hope, like, I'm always looking to pay it forward when I can, you know, because someone did it for me. I want to be able to do it for someone else, you
Yeah.
know. And even thinking like Jesus did it for me, like, you know what I mean? That it's not even about the people who's doing it for me, but it's like they're being obedient to God. They're
Yeah.
exemplifying that, and whenever there's an opportunity, I want to be able to respond to that opportunity
Mm-hmm.
and do it. You know, I know during the season, like, um, I I just thought about them. Like, we have a couple um, friends. I mean, I think we can call them people that we know, that we went to school with, that right now, you know, they're fostering children from another country just for the season of the holiday. You know, like, what a beautiful gift to be able to do those things. And again, you know, some of these things you might think, you know, your mind might go immediately say, like, well, they must have money to, you know, do that. Listen, it is not about the money, because
Mm-hmm.
if you only think about what you have in your hands, then you really don't completely understand that you are a son of God and everything belongs to him. Many times it is not about what we already have, but it's actually to just simply ask, Lord, how would you want me to use these resources? Because maybe the resource or the obedience is in you position yourself to do something that seemed impossible to you, so that God can intervene and show himself out and do that impossible thing for you, for your family, and for someone else. So,
Yeah.
so this is a great season. Um, Everybody have a happy holiday. Um, won't be here next week or so, I don't think. But
Yeah. We've got some more episodes
yeah.
before Christmas for
So,
sure, but
but just Emmanuel, God with us, and just think about the beauty and the being generous during this season.
mm-hmm. Thanks everybody for stopping by, checking out this episode. Appreciate you so much. If it encouraged you or challenged you or added any value to your life, if you consider subscribing, sharing, or leaving a review, I would really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day. See ya
Bye. Be blessed.
Monday.